Do you know what kind of thrash we haven't had yet? Ishike no go. I've been tirelessly looking for something new for you, and I think I've stumbled upon something interesting, albeit with a very dubious name. Castration. Rebirth. I think the very name suggests that we are waiting for extremely questionable experience. This is a work about rebirth in another world from the author of Signal 100 and a cruel happy ending. The genius of Anezaki Satoru sentenced to death for forced castration, and the brutal murder of 15 people who raped his girlfriend. But his life didn't end on the gallows, he was reborn in an alternative version of his world. There, a strong flash in the sun melted the brains of all the men, turning them into insatiable animals resembling infected from the comic book Crusaders. And of course, the girls are forced to survive. The only normal guy is not accepted. I have to warn you that the topic of sexual violence here is on the initial plan. Therefore, if you don't like it, it's better to turn off the video. Now we will move on to the retelling, but before that we will try. I ask you to subscribe to my channels on YouTube and in TG. Let me remind you that your activity and support at the moment is the best motivator for me to have time to make videos every week. And motivation is not enough for me right now. Thank you for your attention, and on this note I turn to the retelling. The main character, Anezaki Satoru, is sentenced to death for the murder of 15 people. Our main character is happy with this verdict. Now he can disappear from this rotten world. In the spring of last year, the attackers used sexual acts against his girlfriend, and this crime eventually ended with her death. While Anezaki is being led to the execution site, the warden notices that being a child prodigy with an IQ of about 200, Kiji attracts too much attention. It's always like that with Anezaki. As soon as it comes to him, everyone immediately adds the word genius. There was always a special attitude towards him, and only Yuno, the victim, treated him as an ordinary person. In the flashback, the same girl, because of whom the main character committed those crimes, asks him to pose for a drawing. And she still manages to persuade him. While the girl is drawing, Anezaki admits that he has always liked Yuna. He was happy and didn't expect it to end like this. Kiji promised to take revenge, and he fulfilled his goal. He is not afraid of death. If after her, he can be reborn in a world without dirt, where he can reunite with Yuna, then it won't even be. The execution is set in motion. In total darkness, Anezaki opens his eyes. What happened? Wasn't he supposed to die now? Rising up, he sees that he is lying on a whole mountain of human corpses. Crying out, he tries to figure out how he got here. His reflection is interrupted by the opening of the door and the girls who bring in the body of another man. Seeing a live guy, a girl with glasses and short hair started screaming, "Monster!" And then all the female representatives started running. Not understanding the reason, Anezaki followed, and on the street, he saw that the sun was something wrong. What's going on here? After all, he was sentenced to death. Is this place hell? The one who screamed at the sight of him fell to the ground as Gigi headed in her direction. Realizing that the alarmist is wearing the uniform of his school, Anezaki mentally asks when the acquaintance studied. The school managed to turn into such ruins. The girl asks out loud not to kill. She turns not only to him, but also to the tall man standing behind her. After getting hit on the head, Anezaki falls. Having informed by radio that he is going to make an arrest, the policeman who has gone bears Boltiora and throws himself at the individual. He only had time to tear up his clothes when a shovel pierced through him. Thinking that such things are unforgivable, Gigi hits the opponent in the groin with the same weapon. What's going on here? Catching his breath, shouting the main character. He repeats, in the hope that he has suffered. The victim will explain to him, but she is worried about something else now. The fact that Anezaki Satoru is standing in front of her. The guy the girls have already killed. Someone pulls a bow taitiva, and an arrow flies past the guy's head. A girl named Haruka asks the victim, and now we know that her name is Saya. Is she okay? Haruka shoots another arrow next to Gigi, and he tries to escape from her through the school. Climbing the ruined staircase, he looks out the window and is speechless. Not only the school, his entire hometown is completely destroyed. The archer Isaiah appears from behind. Anezaki's acquaintance is a girl, a former classmate named Makina. It was she who killed the version of the main character with melted brains. The sun, the monster, I don't know anything at all. Please explain to me what happened to this world. According to the girls, there was a solar flare. It turned out to be much stronger than expected. The super flash paralyzed all electrical appliances, and because of it, the brains of all men melted. In the same second, they became violent monsters who are guided only by instincts. Monsters attack women to satisfy their own lust, kill, and often even eat. This whole nightmare has been going on for 3 months. The girls at school somehow survived thanks to the reserves, but due to the lack of communication. Now they don't even know if the same thing is happening in other cities. Probably they think the world has already been completely destroyed. Now it's time for the main character to answer questions. First, who the hell is he? After all, they have already killed Anezaki. Looking at his bloody hands, the guy explains that he was sentenced to death. As soon as the gallows worked, he opened his eyes and found himself. At these words, Saya's attack brightened. He was reborn in another world and came from where there were no flashes. Archer Haruka doesn't believe in such nonsense. The monster just wants to deceive them. Because men are always like that, they insult women and play with him. All of them are scum. With these words, the girl he shot an arrow right through his shoulder. Thinking that he just wanted to meet Yuna again, he rises and shouts, "I'm not a monster, these men, whom you describe, kill them all. But I'm different, I never will. It hurts and I won't hurt a woman." Other girls ask him to help. He's not like that, and in general, he recently saved Saya. Haruka is not going to, so she defiantly turns around and leaves. And Anezaki thinks he's had enough. If he dies again, he can go to Yuna. But suddenly something for some reason attracts his attention. The portrait that she painted in his world. So he finds out that in this world, Yuna was not killed, or rather, no one knows what's wrong with her. But in any case, before the solar flare, she was fine. Accepting this as Yuna is alive in this world, Anezaki is filled with motivation. In a world full of shit, he had no reason to live. But now everything is different, he will find her in this universe. The main character is going to go in search of her right now, when suddenly, around the corner at the exit, he meets a picture with sexual violence of the archer Haruka. In the monster itself, Gigi recognizes Yuna's previously good-natured father, and therefore tries to talk to him. That's just the monster responsible to him, not with words, but a strong grip by the throat. Having knocked him to the ground and resting his Valen on his stomach, the former father of the beloved tries to strangle him. Angry, Anezaki pushes himself off, pulls an arrow out of his shoulder, and drives it right into his forehead. Then he goes away, but almost immediately loses his balance and falls. Then those who are not indifferent take him to the first aid post. At first, the teacher sitting inside panics, seeing that a monster has been brought to her. In Gigi, a person still gives him first aid. It's hard for her to believe in something like reincarnation in another world, but at least she sees that Najaki is human. Now the school of the survivors about 30 girls. They inhabit this area of the school, which is considered safe. The teacher found out that monster men are attracted by the smell of female pheromones. Gigi understands that men also have sex hormones, and therefore the young father attacked him. In this case, the question arises, why don't they attack each other? Sensei gives an explanation, because these creatures themselves are difficult, and they can't allocate them themselves. Since the school's campus is quite large, the female smell does not penetrate outside. Therefore, if the monsters get here, it's only because they wandered here by accident. A little later in the dining room, the other girls find out that Archer Haruka is dead. If so, then one asks to give her her share. An argument begins. The teacher does not even try to solve it, she is already used to such situations. Then Gigi himself approaches the conflicting parties and offers his food, which only scares them. Saya is trying to convey to the others that Anezaki is not a monster. Then another new character, Alice, appears. She claims that the short-haired one was deceived by this creature. The other girls agree with her. The world of men has come to an end, and it's time to accept it. Later, climbing to the roof, Gigi thinks that the girls are right. Living in such a world, it is clear that they will arise. They see the opposite sex. But no matter what happens, he will somehow save Yuno. He will do everything so that what happened in his world does not happen to her again. The door opens and Makina appears in the doorway. She apologizes to the guy for the way the others treat him. When he stammers that he will not be here tomorrow, the interlocutor asks him to stay. According to her, everyone here went crazy, They didn't even cry when they found out that Haruka's archer was gone. They just took it for granted. Like, could it really be otherwise? And Makina is very afraid of becoming exactly the same. She very much needs hope for survival, which she sees in the excised protagonist. After all, perhaps the girl will be able to go to his world, a place where there has never been this damned solar flare. Sensei appears and asks Anezaki to give her some time. Left alone in the infirmary, she admits that it seems that this world has come to an end. But since they are still alive, the burden of caring for the future of the next generation falls on their shoulders. Committing sexual violence, monsters always kill girls afterwards. You can't leave offspring like that. Thinking about what to do next, the teacher made a discovery. There is no Y chromosome in the sperm of monsters. And having said that, she immediately began to undress. Sensei says that without the Y chromosome, they will not be able to leave the next generation, which will lead to the extinction of mankind. So, since Gigi is leaving tomorrow, let him at least impregnate her. That's just with such a direct harassment, Anezaki is sick. He talks about what happened with the young in his world, and declares that he hates sex more than anything else. Therefore, he will never, ever do something like that. Having confessed to his sexual hatred, the main character leaves, reminding that he will leave the walls of the school in the morning. Actually, with the dawn, the main character got ready to go. Sensei asks him to at least go solo to Zhuklek and leave loot, but even here Anezaki does not want to help. Suddenly, Makina appears on the periphery and says that she will go, together with him. Gigi does not agree because he is not strong enough to look for Yuno and at the same time protect others. The dialogue is interrupted by shouts from the gym. Everyone runs to the source of the sound, and, opening the door, they see that the intruder is incomprehensibly like a monster. Men are torturing girls. When they saw the newcomers, they went and rushed at them. Picking up a fire extinguisher, Anezaki disorients them, and our formed group manages to escape. We need to get out of here as soon as possible, and fortunately, Makina privatized a lot of provisions when she was going on the road. Anyway, we can't stay here right now. It looks like everything. Someone won't point the finger at Makin. The monster lured me here. Anezaki doesn't care, he's going to look for Yun. If others want to follow him, that's their right. After some time, while traveling through the ruined city, Uyasaki-sensei asks, will this cloth really help hide their smell? To be honest, she's not sure. However, so far it seems to be working. Yuna's house is located in the very center of the city. There are probably even more monsters there, so it's dangerous to go there. Now we need, in any case, just to take a break, as the girls are tired. And while everyone is resting, Poppy's at home. He thinks that he will never leave Gigi, and one day he will be able to go to a world where there was no outbreak. In the meantime, the main character asks Yasaki-sensei exactly how the outbreak occurred. From her words, everything was too fast. A few days before that, everyone was excited about solar activity. But no one could have imagined that it would end like this. From a powerful flash, Sensei herself lost consciousness, and when she came to, she saw a monstrous picture, where the male part of the teaching staff used sexual violence to the opposite sex. The technique has become useless. The city turned into ruins. Day and night, as well as the seasons, began to go differently. After finishing the explanation, Yasaki started the hurdy-gurdy again about the need for his seed. But no, he intends to fight off women until his last breath. Then they continued on their way. A blonde girl. By name, Alice stopped by the junior school, saying that her younger brother went here. She hadn't heard from him since the outbreak. Maki, on the contrary, if you want to look for him, do it yourself. Anezaki expresses uncertainty that the child could survive and survive in such a world for so long. Plus he's a guy. But nevertheless, Gigi is going to help, warning in advance only that at the slightest sign of danger, they will immediately run away. Inside, they are greeted by bodies scattered here and there. Studying the school leads them to a room closed from the outside, from where someone's voices can be heard. Inside, the children feed on either dead animals or giblets. Shotu, Alice's little buddy, of course, is inside. The older sister wants to help, but the younger bud immediately rushes into the attack. And Anezaki is repelled by a microman, but there are several more on the way. They pounce from above and are about to attack the main character when suddenly sweets fall from somewhere. Switching their attention, the feral children went to eat, and the unknown woman behind them screamed, "Hurry up. Get out before you get distracted." Getting to his feet, Anezaki drags Alice out of this room. The woman who saved them does not immediately notice that there is a guy among the group that appeared, but when she pays attention, catches a microstroke, then falls into stupor and asks, "Are there really still normal living men in the world?" But then immediately Nakina grabs her with the question, where did this woman get the food? She brought it from the shelter of the Slash confectionery factory, which is located next to the school. It was using this provision that the woman brought the children into that room and locked them up. She decided to do it for the future. After all, if it is possible to return them to their original state, the boys will become a piece of hope for the survival of the human race. She invites them with her to the factory shelter. The factory is safe, plus there is food there. It's dangerous to walk at night, so if they don't stay, then at least let them rest. And she trusts Anezaki because she sees that he is normal, but nevertheless asks him to disguise himself, since not all survivors can assess the situation sensibly. Everyone goes to the factory. There are about 50 women living here. They have everything they need to survive. As soon as they are allowed to enter the territory, we learn that A, the woman's name is Mrs. Teyama, B. She has a daughter who is pregnant and, apparently, will give birth today. Sensei immediately asks if the gender is known. "It's a boy," says Teyama. The head of the factory survivalists immediately goes to his daughter to check on her. Then, returning to the guests, she shows them a room in which they can spend the night. Yasaki's teacher asks, "Is Teyama sure that the baby will be born normal?" No, there is no certainty. And that's why the woman decided to bring here the main character. If we show the others that there are still normal men in the world, then it is quite possible that they will be able to continue living with hope for the future. Anezaki immediately explicitly declares that he will not have intercourse with women. You don't even have to ask, he's sick of it. Teyama perceives Gija's categoricality adequately. It is clear, for now it is enough, that he can simply return hope to the others. It's time to settle down for the night, but Alice has been gone for too long. Saya decides to go after her to make sure that the girl is all right. So she reaches the very room where Shota is being held. Other children. The door is open, everyone inside is killed, except the youngest brother. Alice tied him up, claiming that she was taking him with her and leaving. And immediately we are transported inside the factory. There was a fuss. The head's daughter went into labor. The child has come out, and the boy is breathing, but it's clear from the cry alone that there's something wrong with him. Teyama's daughter gave birth to a monster and then died. Seeing that, the others panic. There is no hope for the future. Someone even started to commit suicide. The head decides to get rid of the monster. Then, going out into the corridor, Teyama attacks Anezaki with a knife. Her daughter is dead. She lost everything, so it makes no sense to force others to suffer. For this reason, it would be better if the main character dies here and now. But it didn't work out to kill him. Sensei punched her neck from behind, shouting, "Anezaki is mine, and I won't let anyone kill him." Yasaki keeps hitting the same spot. When Giji stops the teacher, he catches glances at himself. The other girls saw a guy in front of them. Seeing that he is generally adequate, they decide to grab him, and Anezaki will become their new hope. Having tied up the main character, the factory girls threw him into some kind of course in the room, and they went on to discuss how to proceed. Someone reports that, according to his companions, Giji came from another world. Someone suggests making him their new leader, the current new leader of Aoi, against. If they are women, this does not mean that they should immediately politely hand over the reins of power to the first, a normal guy. Having given out all the hateful thoughts to her own, she declares that they will restore peace themselves. And the group of the main character is now sitting in his room. Makina says that she did not expect such bloodthirstiness and concern from the teacher. She doesn't have time to answer. The door opens, and a local contingent appears on the threshold. Sensei asks what will happen to their companion now, and gets an answer. We decided that when we needed it, Anezaki would provide us with his seed. And a little later, 2 ladies were brought to him for breeding. It's time for reverse rape. Anezaki trying to kick. Yasaki tells him to just give up. She decided to join the new women's world, and she understands how important what is happening is for building the future. However, at the same time, she asks not to put pressure on him. The guy recently lost his beloved in his world. And oh, to spit, so she punches him, shouting, "Come on, keep up. Understanding your dick already." Reproaching him for how much of this has happened to women. The new chapter is forgotten, striking one blow after another. Okay, let his male Nalavac not work, but sooner or later, he will lose his vigilance. So for now, everyone is leaving. The girls won't let Giji out of here. Later, Mikina thinks that she can't just leave Anezaki like that. If she's not around, he can kick back. And then she wouldn't be able to follow him. Except now even Yasaki is on their side. What to do? When she sees Saya returning to the factory, she stops her. The returned one says that Alice and her brother have gone somewhere. In response, Mikina tears her clothes and tells about what is happening. A little later, Aoi came to Anezaki again, saying that she was aware of his story. If all this is true, then he should understand the feeling of this girl. After all, the same thing happened to her that happened to Yuna. And it happened even before the outbreak. At a meeting of employees of one company, her colleagues got her very drunk, and then abused her in turn. Why are you crying? Getting dressed, they asked. It was all consensual. After all, everyone told her to sue, but she didn't. After all, the world is not so. To protect the complaining woman, as the rule of this world is made for men. In conclusion, she adds that men were monsters even before the outbreak. After leaving the main character's content room, she hears a noise and goes to the source. There's a local surrounded Sayu whose clothes are torn. Apparently, she was attacked by a wild man. And this immediately shows panic. It would be a disaster if a man got into the shelter. We need to explore the neighborhood urgently. Everyone is running away. After getting up, Saya goes to the only supervisor Anezaki and gets distracted. Her attention. The back appears Mikina and has a girl on the head. The next task is to free the main character. After opening the door, they untie the guy and try to gently lead him out of the shelter. In an attempt to hide, they observe a room in which an unknown woman is sitting. Anatoly is scared. Either she lost her mind. In it, Anezaki immediately recognizes his precious Yuna's mother. He immediately has a logical question. Is it possible that Yuna is also here? She's not here, the woman answers, and then begins to scream heartrendingly. We need to run away, but Gigi can't leave her. He will take her with him, at least because she may know where her daughter is. The group goes out into the corridor. There they are already met by teacher Yasaka and other factory girls. In an attempt to escape them, the boys are on the stairs, but opponents are there. There is only one way to the roof, which, of course, is a stub. There, a genius with an IQ over 200 is asked to think rationally. Without reproduction, humanity is doomed. For the survival of the human race, its seed is simply necessary. In response, Anezaki asks how Sensei would feel if he were the last woman in the world of men. She doesn't know what to answer, so Aoi also gives her voice. She says Gigi is talking complete nonsense. The positions of men and women are completely different, and no one will get hurt if he ejaculates a couple of times. This debate would have continued if not for the smoke that appeared behind him. Other girls who could not accept the death of the head of the Taeum and the unsuccessful birth of a boy started a fire. They broke down. After all, apart from the death of hope in the face of a child, even if they receive the seed of Anezaki and are able to give birth to healthy children, it is still difficult to call it hope. After all, children will not be brought into the world, which now can only be called hell. Realizing this, they doused themselves with gasoline and held hands. Maybe, like the Anezaki, they will be able to be reborn in another world. From below, some unknown person asks everyone to hurry up and go down the fire escape from the roof. Who she is doesn't matter now, because we need to get out of this fire trap as soon as possible. Actually, when they come down, they see a girl dressed as a nurse. Her name Rin Mitsui is written on the tag. She said that she came here after hearing very interesting news from a recently arrived girl named Alice. Like, in this factory, there is an adequate guy who came from another world. Aoi doubts whether to trust a stranger. Factory workers have repeatedly sent a group to the university hospital to replenish medicines, but no one has ever returned from there. The first question from Makin, is there food in the hospital? Saya asks if Alice is okay, and Anezaki announces that he is going to take Yoon's mother with him. Her nurse found out, but the form is not submitted, and promised that they will do everything in their power to help this woman. Aoi reminds me again that they have already sent a group to this hospital, and no one has returned from there. But even so, what remains for the rest? There is nowhere to go, and the fire is about to escape the monster men. So all the survivors go after Nurse Lin. When they got there, they were horrified to realize that there was electricity in the hospital. Some old generators miraculously managed to avoid electromagnetic waves during a solar flare. So someone set up their work, and it's another man. His name is Igarashi, and he's in charge here. He found out about Gigi thanks to Alice, who is also here. And it seems impossible to Nedzaka that someone, like him, reincarnated into this world. He is not sure that he has been reborn, like the main character. The nurse calls him a savior who by miracle kept their sanity. The dialogue did not continue, a siren sounded. Someone reports that several men have appeared in the courtyard of the second ward. Suddenly, there are giant naked men being led out on ropes. There is no need to be afraid of these creatures, and the garish completely control them. He himself takes his naked Pokemon, and Anezaki gives an axe. Using a whistle, he orders the monsters to kill the wild men. While the others are surprised by their strength, the chief at the hospital explains that the outbreaks have caused devastating damage to the male chromosomes. As a result, their genetic information was rewritten. In them, cell division grew at an abnormally high rate, which is why they became so huge. Igor calls these creatures singular. He caught them before coming to the hospital and learned to control them with a whistle. Now there are as many as 7 such singular ones in the shelter. And Nozaki asks, how can you tame these creatures, and who Garasi such that like to pull? The second one replies that he doesn't remember anything that happened before the outbreak. I just woke up with a whistle in my hand in some alley. Because he was able to fix the generator, he realized that he was probably an engineer by profession or something. He took the name of Igor based on the tattoo that he has on his arm. Nurse Lin adds that the hospital was on the verge of destruction before his appearance. He came and built what they all call a country in the hospital now. He doesn't have time to answer as some other girls appear. These are the factory ladies who were sent to the hospital and who did not return. They admit that they are sorry, they just didn't want to leave such a place. And you're not angry, she understands. But she is also concerned about another question. There were more than 10 people, and now there are only 2 in front of her. Therefore, where are the others? And she never got an answer. Nurse 1 starts talking. We have just decided to arrange a small welcome party for the newcomers. The table looks incredible. The girls immediately rush to the food. As soon as the plates are empty, Sei becomes sad, because she would like to share this meal with the rest of the girls from school. Now Igor speaks. He declares that he wants the others to stay here. He wants to get to know them better, so he asks them to tell about their past and what skills they have. Yasaki admits that she was a teacher and is well versed in biology and chemistry. And Ouija is good at Kendo and Aikido. Previously, she also worked as a safety instructor. Other girls have no special skills. Now it was Anazaki's turn to ask her questions. And his first ones, can they cure Yun's mother if he stays? The head of the hospital promises that he will do everything possible to protect the residents of his country. And now it's time to show the others their rooms. Everyone is being taken away. The main character and the main hospitals were left alone. The second one admits that he wants to enlarge the country and create more safe zones. This is the least he can do for women, as he belongs to those who have been ravaging and controlling women for a long time. For Gigi, he has a special role. And Garashi wants Anezaki to look for women and bring them here. For this, he will cure his girlfriend's mother. Meanwhile, Aoi and Yasaki saw their rooms. They are joint, but they look very neat. In addition, they were given skirts and elastic bands for their hair. The conditions created for schoolgirls are much worse, the attitude towards them is also no better, and at the same time from this day, they must wear pants. In the morning, Anezaki handed over some singulars and a whistle. As soon as he left, Garages suddenly felt bad, and he clutched his head. After catching his breath, it seems that he managed to put himself in order. Let's make your ideal country a reality. Let's create a paradise here, the nurse tells him. In another place, a crowd of angry men attacked the girls, tearing them apart. It was then that our main character arrived in time with his ferocious giants. When the elimination of the opponents was completed, they invited the survivors to go to the hospital. Watching the giants, Gigi himself wonders if Garashi really just found these creatures. And at the same time, Maki dreams that Anezaki has returned to his world without her. Having woken up from such a nightmare and frightened Sayu pissing in the same room, she tries to understand why they suddenly began to be treated like that. The door opens, and the local warden comes, informing that it's time for work. Now the girls will wear shit, as it is fertilizer for the crop to feed those who live in the best conditions. Alice also goes outside, noticing that her classmates have failed. She apologizes for not being able to warn them about what was happening. She wanted to, but her younger brother is now being held hostage. Makina tries to ask the girls in clean clothes where Aoi is, but they immediately demonstrate their attitude to the lower class to all their types. The matron tells them that it is useless to communicate with them. Selected and garage women get privileges, the rest become slaves. Now we are transported to Igarashi, who is now smiling at the new survivors brought by the main character. While he's talking, Gigi himself can't help but pay attention to the trem, which he's trying to restrain. After meeting with other familiar faces, Anezaki asks where the other girls are. No one saw them. How is the condition of Yoon's mother there, too, is still unknown. Actually, Nurse Rin is now in the ward with the patient. Looking at her, she thinks she can't let this woman recover. And while everyone is eating in the dining room, Anezaki notices that of all the attacks with women came only one. Aoi immediately approaches and asks where the others are. Instead of answering, he pays attention to their outfit. They don't like it themselves, but the locals insisted. Sensei notices that something is wrong with this place. She had never seen the locals working here before. If they don't do anything, then how is all this comfort created? Yasaki adds that she hasn't seen her students for a long time. And when he talks about them, the locals evade the answer. When Aoi stutters that the survivors of her group who were sent earlier are a pharmacist and a nutritionist, Anezaki remembers the question and garages about skills and begins to get to him. A little later, Sensei and Aoi approached one of the locals. While they distract her attention, Gigi skips by. He found Yoon's mother tied up in the back room. As soon as he removes the bandage from his mouth, the woman screams to run away because he will be killed if he stays just like Yuno. While Anezaki is trying to figure out what happened to his beloved there, a nurse in the company of the Singulars came to the girls, asking what they were doing here. Instead of answering, they themselves ask where their companions are. Aoi and Yasaki are tied up, after which the nurse commands to take the new one to the gym. She herself went towards the detention cell of Yoon's mother. The one mentioned now, by the way, tells Gigi that she and her daughter have already been to this hospital. At first, everything was fine here. Speaking as a united front, the ladies survived. But as soon as the attacks of the common enemy, that is men, decreased to a minimum, internal squabbles began. The refugees demanded equal distribution of food and clean beds. Subsequently, the massacre, and a few days later, the nurse came with a brand new Rin and garages, which dragged with himself and Singular. The riot stopped, and the aforementioned established a brutal dictatorship. A class system based on a person's skills was established. Having the skills stood on top of it. They were obliged to tie their hair and wear skirts, as this is a sign of a real lady. The following became slaves who had to work for the prosperity of the first. The same thing happened to Yuna and her mother. They were recognized as slaves. They tried to run away, but the daughter was grabbed, and, most likely, they did the same as with other objectionable people. Took them to the gym, a terrible place, where Yasaki and Aoi, the teacher, are being taken to in parallel with this story. This was witnessed by Saya and Makina. The violators were pushed into the mentioned place. The gym is littered with corpses and covered in blood. Among those sit the Singulars, who do with them whatever they please. The matron explains to Sei and Naken that their friends will now become food. The monstrous truth is that monsters obey the garage not only because of the whistle, but also because he feeds them regularly. And this is the third class of the hierarchy. Besides the upper class and slaves, there is also a food class. Anezaki asks the woman not to tell him that Yuno was actually fed. So you're here, the door opens behind you. Indoors, Nurse Rin is half inside the singular forest. According to her, the main character has no right in this country to do whatever he pleases. There is only one person here, and that is the head of Igor. They don't need Gigi himself, so it's time to get rid of him. She commands the singular to attack, and he rushes forward. And Nedzakia sticks a fork in his eye. From pain, the monster starts waving his arms in a fit of blind rage, pushing a limb of one of the local guards. That's just his level of anger is incomparable with the anger of the main character. Picking up the axe, which the crushed defended, Gigi first cuts off its end, and then blows off his head. In his right hand an axe, the left singular Elda. In the eyes, a demonstration that Anezaki is watching. The nurse started running. The main character, realizing that his beloved, because of revenge, for which he was sent to the gallows, and which he wanted to find in this world, was most likely fed to these creatures, and therefore screams. We are transported to the gym. There, the monsters have already grabbed the given prey. One singular lifted Yasaki upside down, preparing to start eating her from the feminine side. But then Anezaki appears, depriving the monster of the male end. In parallel with this, we see how a panting and Garashi opened a safe in his room, in which human limbs are lying. A small flashback of Nurse Rin begins about how she escaped from the hospital at the time of the uprising of those who demanded more food. Then she found a miracle, and Garashi a man with such a sincere smile. From the very beginning, this world was not kind to her, her husband's cruelty, harassment at work. And yet, she decided to trust a new acquaintance and help him build a new world. One day later, she opened the door to his room and saw that he had just killed a woman who had previously used sexual violence. Realizing what he had just done, the coach singularly said that he could no longer stay here. The girl stopped him. Despite what happened, she still wants to believe in him. And on that note, we return to the pussy hater Anezaki. Castronova a singular. He attacked the second with an axe, splitting it in two from the top of head to bottom of top. Previously managing these creatures, the matrons immediately began to run, but it didn't work out. They were met by a class of slaves in the person of Sai and Makin, and then immediately caught up with angry naked women, who had been in the gym before. A class massacre began. Aoi and Yasaki ran up to the girls mentioned above, saying that they needed to get out of here. The shelter is over. At the same time, the other female slaves did not find Nurse Lin. She is beaten, her clothes are torn, but she still manages to escape. The girl runs to seek protection from Igor, who at that moment removed the limb from the safe and began to eat. Her report on the revolution failed. As soon as Rin opened the door, a half-bomb went, immediately pounced on her. "You've believed in me since we met. Please forgive me." The head of the hospital repents in his thoughts, closing his hands around Nurse Rin's neck. Immediately, Anezaki, who has not yet emerged from the berserk fashion, appears in the doorway, who is axe in close. It also separates Garashi's right hand. Apparently, because of the pain, but he immediately wakes up. He asks Giji why he did it, and then looks out the window, and sees that there are some ladies fighting with others. And Anezaki decided to answer, "It's all because you, a fucking piece of shit, created Garashi. This hell, called the country." And Garashi says it was ultimately a bad idea to bring this kid here. At the same time, he declares that the main character is mistaken. The people in power monopolized violence, they controlled it. So creating a country was the most logical thing I could do. He says, before he came here, women in power were treated with suspicion. He managed to restore peace and order. There is no perfect place in this world. And Garashi, the man who in the past was causing women pain. So he decided to play the role of a puppet king. He himself did not intend to create a class division. Girls are such a thing made by yourself. Because of the singulars he brought, the women chose a country full of violence. And Igarashi dreamed of creating an ideal, completely unprecedented world, but the experiment failed. Anezaki clings to this word, and the author shows us a tattoo. Experiment. Have you used women as guinea pigs? That's why you know. He doesn't finish, falling into a rage again and swinging the axe. Other girls who were slaves stop him. First they thank him for his release, and then they ask him to hand over Igor to them for execution. And Anezaki says the last words of the former head. Please find a real paradise in this world. The girls attacked Igor, striking with improvised objects one blow after another. On Железная Street 2 is still going on. Our group is about to leave, but first we need to find Alice. The same one, in turn, keeps trying to find her younger brother. She succeeds, but one of the classes of those with skills immediately appears. She immediately raises her weapon up, but dies at the hands of the overseer Sai and Makin. When this girl attacked, she reproached the lower class for destroying their country, although they should have fawned over them. Talented and scientists, and said that they were nothing. When the matron finished her off, she gave the following. The fact that one blow is enough to turn you into trash proves it. That you are no different from our class. We're nothing, don't make me laugh. All women lived in a single world, created for the benefit of men. They neglected us, suppressed and destroyed all our dreams. And this is the world we have been striving for, a country of contempt and discrimination. It's time to leave. The matron volunteers to escort the girls, but there are still survivors from the class of scientists and talented on the way. They don't want anyone to leave and are still talking about classes. After all, it is logical that the hierarchy exists. Some exist to thrive, and others to serve. This is the natural course of things. A bloodied killer of singulars comes out into the street, and the scientists immediately panicked. At first one of them, the author of the rhetoric about the need for hierarchy, wanted to say something, but when she saw his look, she fell silent. The girl was immediately given a run, and Anezaki headed for the exit. They ask him where, and he replies that he has nowhere else to go since Yuna was eaten. Only the matron will know her name. She was supposed to be sent to the gym, but an unknown person from the class of scientists and talented helped to avoid it. The main character immediately turns on. Where could she escape to? It's hard to say for sure, but the assistant was a soldier in the past. It seems like she came from some Yokohama camp. Maybe they went back there. And Anezaki immediately sets off. Sensei shouts that it is too dangerous to go so far, but nevertheless, the girls have no choice but to follow him. The matron instructs them not to die. She herself will stay and try to restore peace in this place. Finally, she returns the girls from the Arab class to their school uniforms, and the ladies follow Gigi, clutching the wound on their arm. Anezaki himself asks Yun to wait in his mind. He will definitely find her. Some time has passed. The heroes went to Yokohama by mountain trails in order to minimize the risk of meeting with loud creatures. Gigi himself reminds the girls that they don't have to go that far after him. Having said that, he immediately falls down, so the others decide to take a break. While everyone is sitting, Alice intends to feed the shots, but he immediately freaks out. Makina offers to kill the kid, because after the outbreak, he is just like luggage. The sister is angry, but it doesn't come to a fight. The main character loses consciousness. Saya notices that he has a fever, and Yasaki, looking at the wound, says that it's bad. We urgently need to look for a place to camp. The search leads to an old house. Going inside, the girls are scared to see zombie men who, being tied up, are sitting at a table. To their right, ordinary women are sitting on the floor. This family let the group in, and Yasaki was able to properly treat the wounds of the main character. The family whose house they invaded lives here peacefully together. Their attitude to the male part of the family is the same as to ordinary people. Ladies seem friendly. They offer to cook guests something unusual for dinner. One of them approaches Alice and asks what her younger brother's name is. The older woman in the house went to the room of the wounded man, asking how he was. Saya notices that the mother of the family does not look surprised by the fact that Gigi is male and even adequate. In response, she says that anything can happen in this world, and it would be too tedious to be surprised by every new mystery. She says that not the whole family came here for the summer holidays when the outbreak occurred. Surprisingly, they easily coped with them and tied them up when the male part of the family had their brains melted. Then, noticing that Saya looks so tired, the woman says that they can stay here until Anezaki recovers. Later, when the group was fed, it was the men's turn to feed. One holds her head, the second puts food with tongs. They offer to feed Alice's younger brother as well. Makina sees all this madness, asking, do these women plan to live forever next to these creatures? The hostess calmly retorts that, thanks to the fields, they can support the whole family, and since they are far from the city, they are less at risk of attack. They themselves have broken their heads enough about what to do next, and decided to remain a family until the last. When they are asked how they think men will ever recover, the woman replies that yes, she believes it. Makina goes off the rails from these words. It's stupid. It doesn't happen that way. Creatures will remain creatures forever. All you can do is kill them, and then runs away, thinking that she will never accept such a thing. The end of the first part. Oh, what a game it is. But if you like this game, then the second and final part will definitely be released on this channel. As always, I'm lucky to have abandoned titles. Therefore, Coda, if it will not be soon. Because there is an opinion that I will have to fight with the Polish language already. The second point. There will be a prod, only if you want it. I will translate, but in return I will ask you to collect 80,000 views on this video. And now to the manga itself. I didn't expect anything from a title called Castration Rebirth. This alone says that we are waiting for a first-class Treshitin. But as if I'm even a little disappointed. The beginning seems rather gloomy, while at the same time, there is some level of hopelessness. First of all, for me personally, thanks to the dense associations with the Crusaders comic book. But the further it goes, the more strange the narrative becomes, rather than just trashy. The characters, especially the girls, don't seem interesting. Outwardly, some of them are even difficult to distinguish at all. All as one, they say the same things, and all the hatred seems to be painfully hyperbolized. In some moments even to the point of absurdity. I quite often say that some authors try to believe in morality, but they do not seem to bring their thoughts to the end, that is, they do not form it to the end. Not that it is needed here at all, but it seems that the mangaka sublimates, without having fully decided himself. When girls speak out, their rhetoric is saturated with anger at the whole man, part of the population. Moreover, the wording is as if at least don't go out on the street, because you definitely won't come home. But judge for yourself. I will even quote again. All women lived in a single world, created for the benefit of men. They neglected us, suppressed and destroyed everything. Our dream. And this is the world we have been striving for, a country of contempt and discrimination. Yes, I admit that there are such problems in the real world, and the precedents themselves are not rare enough. But still, words would have more persuasiveness to be with this in another, but here. From the point of view of here, where the consequences of a solar flare are here, it quite fits. But from the outside then, where then the peacetime of civilization sounds somehow too much strained. I repeat, yes, there is a problem, and I do not deny it. But the author tries to speak through his characters and say the same. Therefore, it is very difficult to take what has been said seriously, and sometimes even partly funny. After all, what kind of ruined dreams are we talking about? Oh, my day will be in vain if I don't figure out how to destroy some woman's dreams once again. I understand what's bothering you, but only as long as you don't talk about it yourself. But most likely I'm just stupid in social issues, so that you understand how much the working title of this video was originally like this. Try to be sluggish in order to survive. And yes, actually, right away about the sluggish Anezaki. At first, two things infuriated me. How uninteresting he was, and how vehemently he rejected the continuation of Offspring. Further, the second point has disappeared. His personal drama and hatred of coitus are understandable. Even just emptying the tank in solo so that Yasaki takes the seed for fruitfulness, too. You've just been drained here. You don't understand anything, and only now you have found hope in the face of perhaps still living Yuna. It's hardly up to you now to say, okay, give me a couple of magazines, a couple of cones, and leave me alone in the room for 5 minutes. There are no questions here, but the first point was relevant for me, and it remained. It doesn't seem to say that it is worked out worse than any of the similar manga, but nevertheless, for some reason. It was absolutely uninteresting to me. At the same time, he has quite non-trivial facts from life, which are presented at the beginning. I'll give him his due, in the end he looked cool in his berserk fashion, but still, it's still not interesting to follow him. And yes, I saw Sakaki from Signal 100 in it all the time, throughout the entire reading. Otherwise, the drawing is not to say that I was somehow very impressed. The style is nothing, but it's like you've seen it 1,000 times. Violence is not depicted too graphically, but I have seen enough male piscians in the manga for the rest of my life. Finally, I will say that I was pleased that, although there are girls everywhere, the title does not feel like a sad man. There are no typical elements for this genre. Share in the comments how you felt about this manga. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you want to witness the next disaster in real time, hit subscribe. Thank you all for your attention. This is DanZiNinja, and you are fantastic.